What is up, Miami Dolphins fans? It is Ben Morgan of the Fins Up Network. Now, we just lost our defensive coordinator in Vic Fangio, and now it's just a matter of time before we get into the offseason and we find out if we lose one of the team's best players on the defensive side of the ball, arguably one of the best players on the entire Miami Dolphins squad. And that is obviously, as you can tell by this video, Christian Wilkins, because in today's video, we are going to discuss him and the options that our Miami Dolphins have with him this upcoming offseason. Because as you know, he played out his entire rookie deal with us after we drafted him in the first round back in 2019. He also played under his fifth-year option of the last year. So now the team, they've got those handful of options, and we're going to discuss each of those options in greater detail today. But those options include re-signing him to a long-term deal. Obviously, you know that's going to cost us some bucks. Another option being applying the franchise tag. Another option being applying the franchise tag and then trading him. And then you obviously have the option of, you know what? It's been good. Thank you for your service, Christian Wilkins. We're going to let you walk. So like I said, we're going to dive into each and every one of those options. But before we jump into that, I want to hear from you. What's your desired outcome? How do you want to see the Miami Dolphins handle the Christian Wilkins options and dilemma that we have this offseason? Go ahead, drop your thoughts in the comments. Curious to see how you would like the team to handle this. So let's talk about the first option that we that we talked about, and that's re-signing. And then obviously, if you're re-signing him, you're likely giving him that long-term deal, which he craves, which he wants. And the argument for re-signing him is rather simple. You selected this guy in the first round with hopes that he would be a cornerstone of your defense. He was one of the main pieces of that rebuild year when we really started having all the picks, all the money to spend. He was the cornerstone pick. Well, guess what? He was a first-round pick. He's improved every year. He's always been touted as a good player against the run. And this year, he answered those remaining questions. And that remaining question was, can you get it done as a pass rusher? Can you finish with some sacks? Well, we talked about it. In 2022, the guy goes out, he sets career highs, 98 tackles, 16 tackles for a loss. We knew he could get it done. He completely exploded in that aspect of the game. What's he do this year? He goes, oh, well, I already proved I can play against the run. I'm going to go get the passer this year. Recorded 9 sacks. His previous career high was 4.5. So he doubled it in a season where he knew, you know how they're going to judge me? You know how they're going to judge me against these other interior defensive linemen who have been getting the mucho dollars? Yeah, those guys have been getting to the quarterback. That's what I'm going to do. So he goes out and doubles his previous career high sack total and gets 9. The other thing that we've got going is, remember who we extended earlier in the 2023 offseason? Yeah, salt to the salt and pepper. And I think we all love that combination of Zach Sealer and Christian Wilkins. And we don't want to break them up. They complement each other so well in that interior. They were the only duo on the interior defensive line this year in the NFL to each record 9+ sacks. Plus, as we talked about in the run game, they're a huge reason why the Miami Dolphins finished 7th in the NFL in rushing yards allowed per. All right, so the next option is applying the franchise tag. Now, Over the Cap, the website Over the Cap projects the interior defensive lineman franchise tag number to come in at just under $20 million this year. It's at $19.753 million. Now, the thing about a franchise tag salary, that's all guaranteed. It's not incentive-based. It's not playing time-based. It's nothing like that. That is nearly $20 million guaranteed to Christian Wilkins for 1 year. Now, this option does a few things for you. One, it gets you his services for another year. Two, you'd get the opportunity to trade him and actually receive compensation in return. We're going to get to that option here in a second. 3, it allows you a little bit of added time to negotiate, knowing that you've got him under contract for that 1 year, and he's not going to be able to get signed by another team. He's no longer really a free agent in that sense. And 4, in a roundabout way, it's essentially kicking the can down the road, because if he were to play under the tag in 2024, he'd simply just be scheduled to re-hit free agency when 2025 offseason rolls along, as long as no long-term deal had been reached in the process. So I've been told that the franchise tag is currently the leader in the clubhouse. Like I said, at least the latest that I have been told, applying the franchise tag is the leader in the clubhouse. And the primary reason for that is exactly what we just laid out right there. It's the multitude of options that it presents you with. We talked about the tag and trade. So we did a video last year. I think it was right around draft time. It might have been draft day, where we talked about Miami getting offers for Christian Wilkins, and ultimately they ended up declining them. So we know that they've already been offered trades for Christian Wilkins, and they have declined those. They wanted to see how things played out last year. I don't blame him. Like I said, he's one of the better teams, one of the better players on this team. So since he played out that fifth-year option with us without receiving that new long-term deal, the option to trade Christian Wilkins is gone unless they franchise tag him and then attempt to trade him. So I asked my connection, what would be reasonable compensation that the Miami Dolphins would consider if they did a tag and trade situation? I was told that a first and third is likely in the ballpark about what they'd be looking for to receive in that situation, if indeed draft capital is what they would like to acquire. So this option obviously also gives you a little bit of financial relief. You wouldn't be forking over another huge contract to an interior defensive lineman. Go back to the 2023 offseason. We gave a nice deal. He's well worth the money, but it is a nice deal to Zach Sealer on the interior as well. And it also would provide you with quality assets in return, if indeed they get close to that first and third that they would be seeking. But obviously on the con side of things, you're losing a proven player and you're losing a huge, huge team leader in the process. As of today, I've been told this option is likely the number 2 most likely option. And then letting him walk. This option, in my opinion, probably your opinion as well, this has got to be worst case scenario. And quite honestly, it'd likely be financially driven. It would mean, at least in my opinion, that Christian Wilkins wants more money than the Miami Dolphins front office is willing to pay. And a lot of that truly is going to boil down to, where are we at currently with the salary cap? Because we know we're not in the best situation right now when it comes to the salary cap. The other part of this option is that, man, it looks terrible optically that we would be letting a guy like Christian Wilkins walk after the 5 productive seasons that he had with the Miami Dolphins. And what I mean by that, how are other players going to view this decision if we simply let a guy walk who one, we drafted, like I said, high draft capital, 13th overall, I think it was. 2, he's 100% a top team leader on the field, in the locker room. 3, super durable. You remember this guy missing games? He's played in 14 or more games each single season, 5 years with the Miami Dolphins. And 4, like I've said a couple of times, he's overall one of our best players on the team. He's done every single thing that this team has asked him to do. So there's a lot of negatives in this situation. If you're looking for a positive, that this option would obviously free up a little bit of that money to spend elsewhere. I know that is a huge concern right now for the people that maybe aren't quite on board with trying to bring him back. So you're freeing up money to spend at other positions. I get that. And then you'd also be in line, most likely, to receive a compensatory pick if he ends up signing a long-term deal elsewhere. Regardless, I have been told that Christian Wilkins, his preference would be to stay with the Miami Dolphins. Chris Grier, Mike McDaniel, they want this guy in Miami. So what are we doing right now? Well, like I said in the intro, we are now playing the waiting game to see how each and everything shakes out with these options. But those are the options that the team has with Christian Wilkins this offseason. Like I said, drop your preferred way that we handle this dilemma, this Christian Wilkins situation, in the comments. Curious to see how you want or see this thing shaken out. That is what I have got for this one, Miami Dolphins fans. And until next time, Fins